We're going to Deep Creek.
Here?
Yay!
Oh my god! We're gonna talk about our books later, so stay tuned. I'm gonna tell you about our favorite books.
Talk about my books too.
We can do that. Hi guys, welcome. We wanted to talk to you about some of the books that we read this year.
Thus far, in December, I've read 34 books. I'm on my 35th book.
That's crazy.
Super excited.
First, I just want to start by talking about the books that we read for book club this year, right? Okay, like, we didn't read all that much. So we started off really weak with fucking Conversation with Friends by Sally Rooney.
I DNF. Is that what it is? Did not finish? Yeah.
I would give it a 2.5 stars out of 5. I think Sally Rooney is a really, really good writer. Like, do not get me wrong, she's an amazing writer. However, she has a tendency, I think because it's so character focused and so relationship focused, that the plot can seem very mundane and boring. And sometimes as a reader, you need an escape when you read. And so not having a thrilling, not necessarily thrilling, but engaging storyline really turns people off, and I think that's where Sally Rooney lacks. But of course, I think that's just like the nature of her genre. Literary fiction isn't supposed to be something where it's interesting. I don't think it was a good book club read. Would I read it individually? Yes, but I don't think we should have read it as our book club.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I apologize because that was one of my choices.
It was our first book club read. Like, we already don't read enough, and so we chose like the worst one. So I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, and she DNF'd it. So it was just,
I did not like it.
yeah. And I've heard the show's okay, but I watched 2 episodes and I honestly didn't even like that, so couldn't tell you. So the second book that we read was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Pretty popular. I feel like everyone knows about it, but I gave it 4 stars, and I had seen the show before and I really enjoyed it. And Sam Claflin's in it.
He's fine as fuck.
My love. And it's overall, I thought it was a great story. I love Camille.
I think it was good too. Except I let me
Go ahead and tell them how much you read.
But it's like
Okay.
So Daisy dies
Okay.
at the end, right, Joe?
Okay, listen. So here's the thing.
Not a real story.
I was reading it and it was really good. I really enjoyed it, but then I just got busy and then I just couldn't really finish it. But I'm gonna finish it. Okay, I'm gonna finish it. But I did really enjoy it. Like, between Conversations with Friends and Daisy Jones was much better. And I'm gonna finish it. I plan on finishing it. I've read like 56% of it, but I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a really good story about like. Oh god, the shotgunning again. Yeah.
I will be participating in the shotgun. I think I gave Daisy Jones, I think it shows up as a 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think I would put it as a 3.5.
Okay.
And that's a really good 3.5. Like, I think 3.5 can be considered bad. Okay. I really enjoyed the writing style. I think it was very unique. It reminded me of the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, because I think one thing that I think Taylor Jenkins Reid does really well is using multimedia writing styles. The little gotcha moment was like it's cute. Like, I think it's cute that it turned out it was the whole time I was writing it.
Yeah.
I think it's just because she set the bar really high for Evelyn Hugo, and so you expect there to be a greater plot twist or any twist at all. But I think it's a really well-written book, really enjoyable. If you're like in a reading slump or if you're trying to read again, I feel like that's the most perfect book to do it with.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Taylor Jenkins Reid, Seven Husbands, can we talk about that? I read that last year, and it's such a good fucking book. Okay, brief intermission of the books. We're gonna shotgun. Thank you. All right, what do you got? I got a course.
I have a tea.
Oh, you want to start your recording?
Ready?
All right, cheers.
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 Oh my god. I saw so laugh.
So cold.
Fuck.
Oh my god.
I want to throw beer in the fucking fire.
I need to wash my hands. They're so sticky. Let me just put them in some snow. I'm washing my hands just because they're really sticky from the twee. But don't worry. It's so cold. Don't worry. When I go inside, I'll wash them for real. But damn, they're cold.
Okay.
I also read Seven Husbands. I have not finished.
It's been like an hour since we've actually been we just had dinner and now we're roasting s'mores by the fire. Okay, so our next book was
Watch out.
Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and this is my first book of theirs that I've read. I personally gave it a 3 out of 5.
I think I would upgrade it to a 3. Yeah, I think it would be a 3.
Her Goodreads review said that it was funny, but I don't know if it was like the best book. like a little tongue-in-cheek, a little narrator. Yeah, like it was fun.
Are you guys talking about books?
Yeah.
I have a book.
What book you
Okay,
got?
tell us about your book.
No, finish Yellow.
Okay. So honestly, I don't have that much to say about it. I think it was good, but it wasn't really anything special. It was really popular in 2023, going into 2024, and I was really excited to read it. And I thought it was a funny premise. It sounded a little funny, quite frankly. So it was funny at times, but funny in like an ironic way, not even in like a I found it funny way. Glad I read it. I really wanted to, kind of get it under my belt, but it was fine.
I think I might have to disagree with you.
Okay.
I kind of find the book to be funny. Like, in my head, I can picture, like, this white girl that would just balance her ends, like, trying to make ends meet. Like, obviously, I am Asian, but, like, I don't know why I was sympathizing with her. Like, it pissed me off, but it also was just, like, funny to sympathize with this girl. Seeing a woman in a downward spiral really just, like, gets me going, and I have, like, an emotional connection. I'm like, girl, it's okay, but like, does it sting that it's at the stake of all Asian women? Hell yeah. The first 3/4 of the book was really good. I think the last fourth just became like comical and satirical. And I don't know if that was like R.F. Kuang's like intention. Some of it did seem out of touch, but some people are like, oh my god, this is the most out of touch book I've ever read. Like, this author doesn't understand like Asian people. I was like, obviously she is an Asian person that's written the book. I think it's just supposed to be a good, fun read, but because the author wanted to make it a poignant political statement, I think some people are just like, oh, she should have done more with it.
Yeah.
I think it was a good book. I think it was funny. Does it miss? It does miss, but it does what it needs to do.
Good morning. It is now. Don't know the time.
Okay, so I started getting back into audiobooks because I've been lazy and I wanted to still hit my reading goal. Now I listen to it in the car. I recently listened to My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, I think is her name. Gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I really, really liked it. It's like such an unlikable narrator. And it's so like tongue-in-cheek. It gave me Yellowface vibes. It's just a very like kind of cynical, funny narrator. I don't know. It's just so insufferable, both of the characters, and yet so real. And I like saw myself in all of the worst parts of this character, even though they're a terrible human being sometimes. I just really like things that respect the nuance of the most unlikable person doing intolerable things, still deserving some type of care or consideration. And this book just kind of made it funny. We're leaving. This year I read one romance. I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I gave it 5 fucking stars. Loved it. Everyone loves Emily Henry. What have you read by her? Okay, so none, but I've only read I think 1 or 2.
I read the first 3-4 chapters of
Beach read.
Beach Read. I read the first like 4 chapters.
Anyways, I thought it was amazing. I think it's like second choice love. It's like bittersweet. It's like choosing your stuff, and it's also most importantly the friendships in that book. It's not just about the romance, the friendships, and like honestly the family trauma and like family roles and like all that shit. So good. Perfect book. 5 stars.
I want to go into the thrillers that I read this year next because I read so many this year. I think it's the genre that I read the most. Mostly because I wanted fast-paced reads. Honestly, I'm just getting back into reading. And it's not that easy for me. I have a really short attention span. Even with TV shows or movies, I like thrillers. I like psychological stuff. I like suspense. I like fear. I use these to kind of sandwich between heavier or denser books. Obviously, I'm making this video out of order in the order that I read things throughout the year, but I use them periodically to get a little palate cleanser, to get out of a slump. You know, just like a little fast-paced thriller. First, I start off with Freida McFadden books. They're pretty popular on the internet. I'm sure you've heard of her. I read The Housemaid, which is the first one I read. So popular and honestly very good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was great. I also read Never Lie by her. And this one I did not like as much. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Never Lie had certain red herrings that I thought were just a little annoying, quite frankly. 3 out of 5 stars for me, but perfectly good and fine. Earlier in the year, I also read Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I hear she has a lot of really good ones, so I would love to read more by her. And I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. I was gripped by this book. And I mean, it was a 5 out of 5 star until the end. I finished the entire book, I want to say in a day, if not less. I think I may have started it one night at like 10, stayed up for a long time, went to bed, woke up. It was the first thing I read in the morning. And I think I might have finished by like 2 p.m. that day on like a weekend. It was so good. And the ending I thought was stupid. I thought the ending was bad. So 3.5. Only because I don't really know where to put that. The ending's like a 2 for me. I did not like it. But the rest of the book, up until that, 5 out of 5. It was amazing. So 3.5 is what I gave it. After a while, I think in the tail end of the year, I turned to Verity by Colleen Hoover. And let me tell you, Colleen Hoover is, we all know who she is. And I had read It Ends With Us years ago when it was first popular. Didn't watch the movie. Not really interested in watching the movie. You know, I think It Ends With Us was a decent book for its purpose. I don't think it should be really read now. And honestly, that book was good and fine, and I really, really enjoyed it at the time of reading it. But I hate what she's done with her fame of that book. You don't need a nail polish line for a book about domestic violence. You don't. You just don't. I ended up reading Verity because so many people love it. It's one of those books that I think was the oldest book on my to be read that I still hadn't touched over years. And people who have read it loved it. And so I kind of just had to get it under my belt. Just wanted to get it done, see what it's all about. I ended up giving it 2.5 out of 5 stars. And maybe it deserves more than that. But I would say that the reason people may like it so much is because something I hear often is that it's their first thriller book. When people are reading it, it's also one of their first books after a long time of not reading. And it helps you get back into it. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. I would put it at like a 3-star. Like, it's good, it's fine. Could have gone my whole life without reading it. Wouldn't have missed anything. And then I'm just docking a point because the twist was kind of stupid and I don't really like her writing style. And it's Colleen Hoover. Sorry. I then read The Girl Who Was Taken by Donlea. I think my friend had just gotten her Kindle, and so she was reading it, so I wanted to read with her. And I thought it was good. It was good. I gave it 4 stars out of 5 on my Goodreads. Looking back, I honestly just can't remember it, so maybe it deserves the 4 stars. So I'm just gonna keep it. It's a good thriller. Like, sometimes thrillers I don't hold to as high of a standard. And then lastly, most recently, the last thriller book that I read was God of the Woods by Liz Moore. God of the Woods by Liz Moore. And I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. It was an excellent book. I thought it would make a great TV show. That's the first thing I thought as I was reading it. And this one just seems like it would adapt to film perfectly. I think it would look great on a screen. I think the characters are good. I think the plot makes sense. I think there's good mystery there and suspense. Reason I wouldn't give it 5 stars is I thought that the writing kind of shot itself in the foot when it came to pacing. They would build up suspense so well just to immediately cut to a different scene, character, or time jump. And then by the next time it comes back around, like, you no longer have the suspense and the momentum that you had been building up. So those were the thrillers I read. I'd love to read more thought-out thrillers. I'd say the problem with the thriller genre, in my opinion, is a lot of them can get very formulaic. Is that a word? When you have authors that are just kind of pumping these out, they can just start to follow the same rise and fall and red herring this and character that, and it starts to get a little predictable, but I would love to read more. Honorable mention, not of this year actually, but Beauty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I don't know if it's popular, actually. I think she's a well-known author. I'm not sure if that book in particular is popular. But it was excellent. Very graphic. Whoa. Whoa. Like, whew. Just a little thriller that I liked, if in case you want another recommendation. Also, if my eyes have been crossed at all, I'm going to be so honest. I took off my glasses and didn't put on my contacts. But look, I can, like, make it. You see that? Yeah. Just to put that out there. Let's move on. Okay, this year I also threw in a few, like, self-help books. 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure your favorite high school crystal girl has posted it. You know. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Was not enlightened. I agreed with most things in the book as far as I can remember. Because I think already I had instilled a lot of those beliefs. So, All About Love by Bell Hooks was the next one I read. And I give that 3.5 out of 5 stars. Easily digestible. I thought it had presented relationships in a different way and focused on different details that I had not thought about. I thought it was a worthy read. I don't regret reading it. Yeah, cool. And then kind of along that same vein, but just a tad different, were The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Hope I'm saying that right. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I would bump it to like a 3.5. No, not a 4. A 3.5 stars. It was good. I like the way that it was written because it's not self-help, either first person or second person to the reader. It's actually presented as a dialogue between a philosopher and a person, just a student, I believe, or a regular man. I don't know. I think its teachings are relevant. There are good points to respect about it, but if I recall correctly, it kind of undermines the roles of someone's past and trauma a little bit too much for me. Alright, y'all. This year I also read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Have you heard of it? I've never read fantasy or romantasy, I think it's called. I read the first one. I think I started it in April. I read it for maybe 2 weeks and I just couldn't get into it, so I put it down for another 4 or 5 months. And when I got back to it, it actually got really good. I liked the latter half of the first book. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars because the ending was that good to me. If we're talking about writing style in the book itself, I couldn't tell you. I thought I wasn't impressed. I wasn't, wow, this world is beautiful. It was just a very novel idea to me because I had never read fantasy and I enjoyed it. I liked my first experience reading a fantasy book. And then a few months later, quite recently, I read the second one, A Court of Mist and Fury. I also gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. And yet I do think it's better than the first one, but not enough to be a 5 out of 5 stars or a 4.5. I don't know. But I do like it better than the first book. Today is December 27th, and I'd like to just throw out the most recent book I read was a few days ago. It was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Should have put that in the thriller category. Totally forgot. It was good. I gave it 3 stars, so not that good. She is the author of Gone Girl, which is one of my favorite movies. I actually have never read the book, sorry, but it's one of my favorite movies. Love the plot, love the idea of it. So good. Amazing. However, this book, Sharp Objects, which was her debut novel, it is a show, and I'm gonna watch it one day, and I think I'll like it better. And I'm sure if I reread it, I would like it more, but 3 out of 5 stars. And I don't like the way it depicted self-harm. I found it unnecessary. Okay, biggest, fattest book of the year, East of Eden, John Steinbeck. Ugh. I loved it. However, it was so hard to read. And that's a me problem for sure. But it was very long. It was very slow paced. But it is absolutely a beautiful book. And it was almost as though as soon as I finished it, I wanted to reread it. And I had wished and regretted that I didn't pay more attention to it. I definitely want to read it again, like immediately. And I also want to read it again when I'm older, sitting in a rocking chair on a porch with some, what are those called? Tumbleweeds rolling on by. No, I don't want to live in that setting. I don't know what you call those. What Minecraft biome is that you get tumbleweed? I don't know. 4.5 out of 5 stars. But it's a 5 out of 5 star book. But when I absorbed it, it's like it was my fault that I didn't appreciate it as much as it deserves. John Steinbeck calls it his magnum opus. Next, I think this is my favorite book of the year, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. So good. 5 out of 5 stars. Not much to say about it. I'll give you the synopsis so you go read it. It is told from the perspective of a girl whose age is unknown, who, for as long as she can remember, has lived in a bunker with 39 other older women, ages also unknown, and they have lived underground in a cell being guarded by male guards 24 hours a day. And these male guards do not acknowledge them. They only bring them food, and that might be it. It's so good. I was very surprised by how much I liked it. It's not groundbreaking. It's just very excellent. That's so good. Whatever. It's good. It's good. Please read it. I feel like I'm not doing it justice because I've talked about it the least, but it's like I'm speechless. It's just good. Like, just read it. Just read it. And then I also read this book called This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal, El-Mohtar, and Max Gladstone. And it was beautiful. Honestly, I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. But it could swing in either direction. It's a really good book, and I'm really glad I read it. But I think it went over my head some of the times. I think it's purposefully nonsense sometimes. And I respect that. It's ultimately a really cute, sweet depiction of love in a non-traditional way. And I really, really liked it. And then, most recently, Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. It is a Turkish novel that was translated to English. It's fire. It's so fire. It's a beautiful love story. And I'm gonna read my Goodreads review for you. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And honestly, it's not a good review. It was the final thoughts I had throughout and after reading it. And so I just word vomited on my review and I sent it. Love is risky and all-consuming and fulfilling and painful and protective and selfless and transcendent and confusing and uncomfortable and undefinable and life-changing and eternal, but it is never a mistake. Loving and losing and staying open to do it all over again is the full experience of life. What a beautifully written Turkish novel, a heart-wrenching love story. It's also very She's Not Afraid by One Direction coded. And it was perfect. My review, perfect. And then let me read you the sole review that made me read this book. You think you know yearning, and then you read Madonna in a Fur Coat. You think you know the fleeting nature of happiness, and then you read Madonna in a Fur Coat. You think you know unrequited love, and then you read Madonna in a Fur Coat. And I was like, done. Sign me up. And I read it, and it was perfect. So that's what I read up to present day. Right now, I am reading Tuesdays with Morrie. It's written by Mitch Albom, who also happens to be the author of the book I had read earlier this year that I didn't tell you about. The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And the book 5 People You Meet in Heaven, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I might give it like a 3.5 now. It's a little simple, but it was very sweet and very good. And then this one I'm reading, I like it a lot so far. And then just one book after that. I will check back in with you after I read these. I just finished Tuesdays with Morrie. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. Reading this book just hit a little hard. I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by the same author. Big fan. Great book. Happy freaking New Year! It's January 2nd, and I'm just checking in to say that I did indeed read one more book and hit my goal for the year. The last book I read was The Stranger by Albert Camus. It's a classic. I actually never read this in high school, so it's just one of those books that I always wanted to read. I really liked it. I was definitely rushing because I was trying to reach my goal, but loved it nonetheless. It's super short. I deliberately chose it so it was short, but I thought it was great. I think I will eat up any book with an unlikable, misunderstood, deeply tormented, and frankly terrible person main character. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, but like a solid 4. I really liked it, and I'd like to reread it again and really digest it slower and almost kind of break it down the way that a high school English teacher would. So yeah, I read 24 books this year in 2024, or last year in 2024. I feel very accomplished. 24 books is a lot. I think the year before that I had read 4, and in 2022 I had read 3. So what a jump. Being able to be fully in school and also have read 24 books is a lot to me. I mean, I know a lot of people go crazy with, 50, 100 books, but 24 is plenty for me. My new goal for 2025 is to read 25 books, and I hope to increase it every year, and we'll see how that goes. I'm sure at some point I'll have to rein it in, but for the next few years or so, I'd like to read that many. Let you know how it goes. I probably won't do a video like this again where I recap every single book I did. This year was actually just exciting for me because it each book did really matter to me. It was the most books I've ever read in 1 year, so I was really proud about that. I'd love to still make a lot of videos about books, though. I hope it wasn't too chaotic to watch me go over these books, you know, one by one, as well as in different settings. I thought it'd make it a little less boring. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Bye!